watching you stand alone. All of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you, darling. Don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. Time stands still. Beauty and all she is. I will be brave. I will not let anything take away the standing in front of me. Every breath, every hour has come to this. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you, darling. Don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. All along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. One step closer. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you, darling. Don't be afraid.
Riversena uvono, rilima la vula, rigia Gesù, risasua. Hey, riversena uvono, rilima la vula, rigia Gesù, risasua. Hey, riversena uvono. was. Come on. Hey. Just say. Riambere Mugau. Riambere Mugau. Hey. Riambere Mugau. Asa. Aye, para, para. Let me hear the church. Let me hear the church. Riambere Mugau. Hey! Riambere Mugau. Choo, choo, choo. Asa. Hey. Auriba Sinamu. Aurile Malabula. Oh. Choo. Otherwise, I'm gonna matter. What's up? Everybody, everybody, everybody. Choo. Choo, 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 choo. Yeah, man. Choo, 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 choo. Ay, 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 ay. Hey, say, River Sinabuba. Aurile Malabula. Oh, let me hear the church. Yes. River Sinabuba. Choo.
afternoon to all Mana Tabernacle viewers out there, all our GFG members, and all other viewers that may be watching. So, as promised, today we're going to be having a talk on career guidance in the field of media studies. But I am not alone today. I would like to first introduce my guest speaker or my co-host, Pindu. Do you have any few words to say to our viewers before we begin?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to be here with Patu today. We're going to be having so many different conversations, engaging with you guys on all different angles, all different platforms, and we are so excited to present the talk and the discussion that we have for you today.
Now, I know that this field is something that a lot of students in our church and in our GFG are very interested in. So I hope that you guys take this on board as we go, take notes and listen carefully. Being the beautiful and excellent church of God that always strives for nothing but the best, we've obviously made sure to bring a guest for you guys, and we brought none other than someone who's the best in his craft. So today we have someone here with us who has won multiple awards within the media industry, including the PSL Castle Soccer Best Presenter of the Year in 4 years in a row from 1999 until 2002, someone who has been dubbed the overall SABC Sports Journalist of the Year, and someone who's also been dubbed the SABC Sports Program Feature of the Year, just to name a few. This guest that we have here today has also been involved in many different events across the world. Some of these events that he's covered include the 1999 All-Africa Games in Johannesburg, the 2003 All-Africa Games in Abuja, which is in Nigeria, the 2004 Olympic Games in the Athens in Greece, and the 2003 Cricket World Cup right here in our motherland, just to name a few. So without any further ado, I'd just like to welcome our guest here today, Mr. James Shikwambane.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I like the fact that this is not an interview, but we're just going to have a conversation, a discussion, a talk. And I'm so looking forward to your questions, and I hope that my answers are going to assist you today.
So maybe before we go into further detail, let me just explain how everything is going to work. So we're going to have a few people asking questions who have sent us questions from the GFG, and they'd like to know certain things that they're unsure about within the media studies field, because as we know, this is a relatively unconventional career that most of us don't know much about. So having someone here who is well versed in that area is going to be very helpful, and we're going to try our best to make sure that he answers each and every question that you guys have sent through to us. Maybe before I even start, let me just ask Mr. Shikwambane, what is it that has fueled your passion to be in this industry? What made you realize that, okay, I want to do something within the media field?
That's a very interesting one. I once had a conversation with the late Ray Peary, the Stimela frontman in music, and I said to him, how did you find music? And he said, I did not find music, but music found me. So I would say radio presenting found me because when I was still at school, I never planned to be in broadcasting. It just happened because I just loved radio generally. And I was given an opportunity by the SABC Mungalalonene back then, which was called Radio Tsonga at the time. And that's how I developed a passion, and I realized while inside that actually there are so many opportunities. It's not just about radio presenting, but there are so many opportunities that I'm going to unpack, as we progress.
Okay, Mr. Shikwambane, it's very interesting to hear you say that and to share that with us. But when we're looking at and thinking about the student who's looking at media right now, especially in the changing of times, venturing into media makes a lot of sense, especially in the eras that we're walking into. You know, media studies is gaining more and more traction in terms of possibilities and options for children or students to possibly apply to. So I want to ask you, Mr. Shikwambane, what kind of reassurance can you give students and parents alike that want to venture into media? What can they expect? What processes do they have to fulfill?
When the president announced the lockdown in mid-March, I sat down with my news team and I said to them, imagine the world without journalists. Imagine the world without journalism. And I said to them, in the First World War between 1917 and 1918, and again the Second World War, which ended in 1945, we still have some visuals today. We still have some audio clips. We still have some newspaper clippings. Where do they come from? Who created them? It's journalists. So what I can say to all of you is that I can assure you that there are a lot of opportunities out there in the media space. The only challenge, though, is that you now have a lot of, be it in the print, be it in electronic or digital. We just have a lot of publications. We have a lot of media houses. But how do you then stand above the rest? I think that is the challenge. But I can assure you that there are plenty of opportunities out there. You can't study journalism and go out to staff. We have a lot of people who started as mere journalists, and today they are the owners of big media houses. So I can assure you that opportunities are still there for journalism.
So there you have it, folks. Going into the media field is not only about being on radio or being on television. There are many other different careers, such as journalism, that you can go into, and maybe if you dream big enough, you can even own one of your own, media firms. But just to go further, maybe we should now go on to some of the questions you guys have sent through to us as the GFG learners. So without any further ado, let's just hear the first question.
I think something that most media is a stable career path. So we'd like to know, is it in our economy in South?
Sorry, we're just having some technical difficulties, but
I think something that most
Here we go.
parents and us teenagers worry about is if media is a stable career path. So we'd like to know, is it in our economy in South Africa, is it a stable career path to follow?
Yes, it is a stable career path to follow. And we like the fact that media has been broadened up. You know, unlike before, when we spoke about media maybe 10, 15 years ago, the landscape has really changed, because previously it was about being on television or radio or on newspaper. But now when you look at the way this thing has been broadened up, we have digital media, for example. It's a space that the world is moving towards. I mean, everybody now talks about the fourth industrial revolution. And the 4IR in particular, we then realize that there's plenty of opportunities there. I can give you an example. In the company that I work for, we have different areas there. You've got marketing within media, and a lot of people don't realize that you can start media, something related to media, and still go and work in marketing. We also have your traditional news, where you have journalists who go around, gather news, come back to package and broadcast later. But we also have a section in our organization that deals specifically with digital content. It's a space that I can encourage people to venture into. So you've got one radio station, for example. In that radio station, you've got different sections. You will have digital, you will have your traditional media, which is your presenters that you always hear on air, but you also have your journalists who go around, to gather stories. So there are opportunities.
Also, we have to, everything that we do, especially as young people, we're having these conversations on career guidance and subject choice, so that even after the pandemic, even after the times that we're in currently, we still have a sense of direction. So considering COVID-19 times, Mr. Shikwambane, some careers like journalism or physical manual print, the industries, for example, are losing a little bit of security. We see the numbers of retrenchment every single day being announced, numbers climbing. So when someone decides that I want to venture into something like media or media studies, do they have any kind of security, even if we consider COVID-19 times and even after, when life goes back to normal after the pandemic?
My spiritual father, Pastor Strike, once said these very powerful words. I will just take you back to history, even though some of you were not born yet. For example, in the former homeland where I come from, in Gazankulu, we used to have very powerful institutions of higher learnings that were specifically focusing on education. We call them colleges of education. There was a time when the government took a decision to shut down all colleges because they felt like we had so many teachers who did not have jobs. But fast forward to 5-10 years later, there's a shortage of teachers. And now there is a crisis in the country. You had to go back and recruit people that had actually retired for them to come back to teach. Same applies to media. If we say now we shut down everything, post-COVID, who will be reporting about these stories? Even now during COVID, who is going to give us this information? I would say to all aspiring media people out there, to say, please don't despair. If you have a passion, if you have a dream of becoming a journalist or a media personality or a radio personality, pursue that dream. This COVID-19 is going to pass, and we're still going to need that skill. Where are we going to find it?
And just to go back to the issue of the fourth industrial revolution there, Mr. Shikwambane, I mean, during this time, I think it is important for us to be able to teach ourselves some skills as well, and not just rely on, formal learning, for example. So I just want to know, as, say, for people who would like to go into this media studies career path, how do they go about, because, for example, I see some students who have been to institutions like AFDA. I don't know if you know AFDA, but it's one of the institutions in South Africa which deal with journalism and anything to do with media, really. But then if you look at shows on TV, for example, it's always the same people acting in the same shows and stuff like that. So my question on behalf of people who may be wanting to go into that field is, how then do I go about making myself sort of attractive to be able to get that kind of job, even though I may not be like someone famous like Somizi or whatever. What can I do? What can I do to make myself stand out and say, I deserve this job, I'm good enough?
By law, all media institutions in the country or in any other country are registered. And by virtue of that, every organization, including the company that I work for, we have to train media students, or we have to give experiential learning to graduate. So after graduating, we've got intakes that happen. You go to the public broadcaster, you go to any media house in the country. By law, you are forced that every year there's a certain number of graduates that you have to accept and train, because at school what they do, you don't have the direct experience. They don't teach you about the direct experience. But once you go to an institution, whether it's a public broadcaster, whether it's a commercial space or a community a media space, you are going to get that experience. And I think if I work for Capricorn, for example, and if you get that opportunity to come and be one of our interns, it's up to you now to grab that opportunity. We will give you everything. We'll give you the right tools. We'll give you the right skills. But it's up to you now to say, what do I do with the skill that I have? I look at the organization that I work for. I see a lot of people that have been absorbed. A year or two later, they still go back and say, But there is so and so that we have trained, and now all of a sudden we have a shortage. We have to call those people to come back. It happens everywhere across the country. So I would say, to answer your question directly, we'll give you the tools. We will train you, but the rest will be up to you.
Okay. In that sense, then, if say I am someone who's had some sort of informal training, you know, I haven't necessarily been to school or got like a certificate or whatever, but then I've been maybe in love with the media field, and I've been working maybe at a church, or you know, I've been doing videos for weddings and that sort of thing. Can I be able to showcase my skills to the people there, for example, at a corporation like SABC or Capricorn, without having to have like a degree per se?
You can. I have seen a lot of people, and I'm also a living testimony, because when I joined radio, West, there was no community radio, because now your big media houses, they use community radio stations as a breeding ground, because now it's also difficult. Now things are tough. Every organization wants to make money for survival. So sometimes they don't really have time to go to the street and get people. It's people who come from schools, who come with those qualifications that we're going to train. But what we also do as well, if you know that you have received direct training, you do have all the knowledge, but you did not go through a formal school, we do offer those kind of opportunities. When we normally advertise positions, we'll say a minimum requirement or alternative. So what we mean by that is that even if you don't have a formal qualification in that field, but we know that you have the direct experience, we can still assist you. Like I said, I started with nothing. I only had matric, but the public broadcaster gave me an opportunity to learn, and I am where I am because of the public broadcaster, because of the opportunity that I was given, and I grabbed with both hands.
I feel like, if you can allow me, Mr. Shikwambane and Patu, that since we started our discussion, one or a viewer at home, someone watching at home, can feel very limited to the type of careers or the type of opportunities we're talking about. I feel like we've only been exploring for the moment careers in journalism or television or radio presenting, but when you have a media degree, what more can you venture into? Is it limited to only those three fields, or are there so many different opportunities and aspects that we often don't talk about that are there and are available spaces for young people to take advantage of?
There are so many different opportunities that are there. When you watch television on daily basis, be it news or any other program that you watch on TV, you have you only see one face, you only see a presenter there, but you have a lot of people. One show, you require more than 10-15 people, you know, who direct the show. You've got makeup artists. It's another area, you know, that people can venture into. You've got engineering, for example, where you go and specialize in radio or television engineering, and those people work behind the scenes. The problem is that the message that we often preach, it's for you to be successful in media. It's like, if it's television, you have to be on the screen. If it's radio, you have to be behind the microphone. But there are a lot of opportunities. I spoke about marketing. You once you have marketing, you can work in television, you can work on radio, you can work in print media, digital as well. Now you've got digital content. Every organization now, because of the 4IR, every organization strives to ensure that we have people that are trained, people that are going to drive the digital space in their organizations. You also have a simple thing like music compilation. It's within the media space. For a radio station, for any radio station that you listen to, any song that you hear on air, the person who's behind that song, except for the people who produce the song, of course, but you have a music compiler who ensures that you have music that is lined up for each and every show. So opportunities are there, to be honest. Yeah.
That's very true, very true. Patu said something very interesting earlier that we really need to start talking about more, especially when we have conversations like this about career guidance. We always do the standard. We talk about what subjects should you take, what degrees should you follow, how to research for institutions, but something that we leave onto young people to figure out for themselves is the issue of asset building and building of skill sets. How he said, how do you make yourself special? How do you make yourself stand out? So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Shikwambane, in an industry such as the media one that can become quite competitive like any other, how do you tangibly start to broaden your skill set to make yourself really push yourself and build yourself to really become an asset in the media industry?
I have this young man who used to knock on my door when I was still with the public broadcaster, and he would come and say, I need this opportunity. And he said, Mr. Shikwambane, I need to be very honest with you. I did not study any media related, or I don't have any media related qualification. But I know I have passion, and then he gave me some CDs that I was able to listen to, and I took it upon myself, to mentor these young men, because I was also mentored to be where I am today, and and I was able to take this guy through. I assisted him, and as we speak right now today, the young man that I'm talking about, he's now a programs manager at 5FM, one of the biggest commercial radio stations in this country. So for me, it's about having people that can believe in you. Once you have people that believe in you, but what do you do from there? Another example will be my experience in Cape Town. Last year, I was approached by a group of students from the University of Western Cape. They said to me, University of Western Cape is the only university in the whole country that does not have a campus radio station. So they organized a meeting between myself and the professor who's in charge of the media faculty at the University of Western Cape, and they said we want to be assisted. What we have is passion, but we also want to build our own radio station. And I sat down with a team of managers that I worked with in Cape Town, and I took those young people. There were about 25 of them, and we came up with a program, that every week a certain group will sit with this particular manager, another group will sit with that one, and by end of August last year, that radio station had launched. I keep on getting phone calls from the professor, a lot of phone calls from those young students who are today trying to present themselves as media gurus even before they graduate. So it's once you have someone who believes in you, and then you also want to take it from there to say, but what do I do from here? What is next for me? And like I said, most of the organizations by law, I will only talk about organizations that are in the media space. By law, all of them, they are forced that every year you have to train media graduates. And when you speak about media, what I like as well is the fact that universities nowadays, you no longer have a degree that just comes as media studies. You have media and communications. So it's like 2 in 1. You do media and you also do communication. So once there's an opportunity in any of the media organizations in the country for one to be in marketing, already that opportunity was presented to you by virtue of learning, and you can always grab that.
There you have it, folks. Let your passion drive you. So it does not matter if you have the qualification or not. If you have the passion, let it drive you. Try to reach out and talk to people who may have, those certain connections, and they will help you out where they can. Now, let's go on and listen to the next question from our GFG learners.
Good afternoon. My name is Turbulence Wanda, and what I would like to know is, in this fast changing world of digital and print space, which direction is media taking? What subject should a person specialize in to be in the media space in the near future?
Okay, brilliant question. I would say I think we have dwelt a lot in what people can study at school and all of that. But another thing that I would like to encourage young learners out there is also to follow the path of trying to do some technical work related to media. Because, like I said, I mean, digital, her question is about the direction that the world is taking. But if you go and allow yourself, like a lot of universities now, they also offer courses on digital, you know. They will, let's say, digital media, for example. You go to different universities around the country, even if it's not a 4-year degree or a 3-year degree, a 6-month technical work can also assist you. You look at how the regulator, because every industry is regulated, so is the media space, which is highly regulated. So in broadcasting space, for example, we are regulated by an independent body called ICASA. But what ICASA does, they control the issuing of licenses for radio stations and television stations. But let me tell you something, for internet radio, that space is not regulated. The only thing they regulate there is the content, the kind of content that you dish out to ensure that people don't use vulgar language and all of that. But today, with your laptop and your camera and your smartphone, you can actually start a radio station. Tibo Touch started the trend in the country, and we saw a lot of people like your Gareth Cliff who followed. And America and Britain, they are far ahead of us. They are far ahead of us when it comes to internet radio. Equip yourself with the necessary skill. You don't necessarily, as much as we do encourage our young people to go to school, but going to school, we're not only talking about getting a formal qualification, but you go to school, you equip yourself with some technical language. You equip yourself by learning how to edit, video edit. You know, that can also give you an opportunity to be in one of the big media houses in the country.
Preparing for this, Pathu and I had the opportunity to look over your profile, and for what I'm about to ask, I really could not help it, because when we were looking over it, we just woke up smacked. It was massive, it was broad, it was content filled, it was impressive to say the least. So what I drew from that, looking over that when we were preparing for this, was that, okay, when you are a student and you've only just found your way around the applications process, you don't have a very solid sense of direction, it's very general, very standard, how would you advise that you go about venturing into media studies? Would you advise a person challenging themselves and then they just do a lot of things at the same time simultaneously, or would you advise that you take it step by step, degree after degree, certificate after certificate, internship after internship, or what would you advise to someone who's thinking like that?
My advice is that if you want to go to a university to acquire a formal qualification, which is good, let's say for argument's sake you want to go for media and communication, I think all of us, I always say God gives us 24 hours a day, all of us, but it depends on you how you want to utilize your day. I would encourage young learners or students who, for any qualification for that matter, you are at the University of Limpopo, you know that you go to class Monday to Friday, but you also have your evenings. I would say, while you're busy pursuing that formal qualification, at the same time, you can also equip yourself by doing something technically. If you know that now I'm busy with my media and communication, on Saturdays you can also look at your TVET colleges that are offering, this kind of technical works, so that by the time you graduate with your formal qualification as a media and communication graduate, on the other side, you also have some technical skill. You go to an organization like Capricorn FM to say, I have this qualification, I know I want to do this internship in media, but I can also do a lot of work in editing, and that opportunity can be presented to you. When I studied for my diploma in business management, I also saw an opportunity at Mungala London back then for me to venture into marketing. You know what I did? I did not go to school to study marketing for 4 years. because I already had a diploma in business management, which also covers some of the modules that are covered there, is marketing. But I also went to UNISA to pick on a certificate in marketing, which was for 1 year. So by the time I completed my diploma in business administration, simultaneously, I also graduated with a certificate in marketing. The following year, there was an opportunity on the station when they were looking for a marketing manager. I applied. I already had the formal knowledge, but I already had the technical knowledge as well, which assisted me, and I became a marketing manager, which was my first managerial position. And as they say, the rest is history. I am today because of that opportunity which I grabbed.
I think that advice can apply to someone who isn't even trying to venture into media studies. It's very generic. It's a very solid, very valuable piece of advice that challenging yourself is the way to go. Before I hand over back to Patu and we jump right into our questions again, if we could have a VN from a question from our viewers at home, please.
Hi, my name is Katisa Magaisa, and I would like to ask what it takes to be an assistant production manager.
To be an assistant production manager, I know most of the TVET colleges are actually offering that. My advice is that people can look around, look at different TVET colleges. You also have NAMISA in Johannesburg. NAMISA is funded by government, and the sole mandate for NAMISA is to train people in media related studies in every aspect of the media, be it production, be it journalism, be it management, marketing, everything that relates to media.
And I think we have another question on the line to jump right into that one.
I think something that most parents and us teenagers worry about is if media is a stable career path. After obtaining a degree in media, is there like a specific field that you can specialize in, for example, media, radio, or something like that?
Brilliant question. You
Hello, my name is Nalati Bello, and today I'd like to ask you, how do you make our parents understand that careers in media can be sustainable in the long run? Oftentimes, our parents feel that careers in media should really be taken up as hobbies and not careers. However, we have seen, even as time goes, people in our generation and even in the older generation making careers, successful ones at that, from following their passions in media. How do you help our parents understand that our passions are not only hobbies but can actually be turned into viable careers?
I think I will combine the two questions because I think there are some similarities in terms of what they want to know. It's understandable. I mean, every parent, when you take your child to school, your hope is that they will graduate, come back to work, even though there are no guarantees, like I said in the beginning, but the opportunities are there. I think the first question there was more about after qualifying or after obtaining that degree, and then what kind of opportunities will be there, for us. I think I've also emphasized to the point that we have all these organizations that we have in the country that are in media. They have to offer. The other thing that I would like to advise our learners as well, or our students, is that step by step, take things step by step, because even when you grow as a child, you start with basic education, and then you go to the university, and after the university, don't try to jump for job opportunities. It's going to be very difficult for you. Take advantage of all the organizations that offer internships opportunities, and take those opportunities. In a long run, they are going to help you. Like I said, we have a lot of learners, a lot of graduates who came as interns, and today they're even leading the organizations because they allow themselves time, step by step, to say, I have now graduated. Let me try to get an intern or an internship opportunity. And then from there, if there are work opportunities, you will be the first people to be considered.
Yeah, very, 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 very true.
Let's go on to the next question on.
Hi, my name is Blessing Nkona. I want to know about journalism. What does it take to be a journalist? And what career opportunities are there? And where can I study to be a journalist? Thank you.
My name is Lisa Matata. I'm a member of the GFG. My question to you is, like, in the media industry, because like media sort of relates with like journalism and all of that, like, why is it that sometimes the media gives off biased or altered information? Like, is there a reason why like some stories they leave out the truth, or they over exaggerate the truth, or they change, like, you know, the perspective of the whole story? So that's my question. Thank you.
I will start with the first one. I think all your mainstream universities in the country, they do offer journalism. All of them. But my advice is that instead of just taking it as journalism, because you do have journalism, but you also have media studies and communication, which is broad, and it covers everything. Because within the media and communication, you will still find journalism, which will make your life easier once you graduate, because you can venture into different things within the media space. But if you just take it nowadays, if you just take it as journalism, it limits you, because the only career you can follow is that of being a journalist. But if you take it broadly, within the media studies and communication, you'll find different things. You will even find marketing in there. You will find journalism that forms part of that. You will find digital media, which is very critical at this stage. So I would advise that instead of taking it as journalism, take it broadly, media studies and communication. And the second question there, well, I do get these kind of questions. That's why in the organization that I work for, and I think the public broadcaster as well, because they are a public broadcaster. At Capricorn FM, what we do, we have news as independent, even though overall I am still responsible. But we then give the news editor the responsibility. We empower them to take editorial decisions. So if a particular politician calls me, but what I can tell you is that every story, before it gets published or broadcast, there are some tests that are done. You know, it goes through different stages up to a point where they agree that this story can go on air, or it can be printed. When you look at the newspapers as well, you also have newspapers that are by their nature, they do investigative journalism. So in an investigative journalism, if you want to write a story about some corruption that happens in a particular provincial department, it can even take you 3 to 6 months. By the time you finish that story, you have to ensure that you have satisfied yourself that this story can be published. So we do that. I don't have a direct answer to say why certain stories are distorted and all that. But in the areas that I have worked for, we always made sure that integrity is very important, because once you begin to distort stories, to write stories the way they were not supposed to be written, then you lose your integrity.
Very true.
Maybe just to add my own 2-cent opinion there, I just like to say, I feel like sometimes when editors, for example, write maybe a story on the newspaper and stuff, I think we need to be understanding of the fact that, as a journalist, you're also a person who is like influenced by the things that may be happening in and around you. So maybe the article that you write might be a little bit biased according to your own feelings and understandings, you know. So I feel like as a journalist, it's important to be able to draw that line and be able to be like right from a neutral perspective. And I also feel like it's important as a reader, you know, to be able to like understand that maybe sometimes corporations have specific agendas and whatever. So their messages may be relaying more towards that side.
Yeah, but also to add again on that, and I'm not trying to defend my colleagues in the media space. Most of these problems happen in the print category of media, because in the print then you also have different ways of reporting. We've got what we call tabloid reporting. What tabloid does, their job is to run after well-known people in the society. I was also a victim of that. My spiritual father knows that, where a journalist will just call you and say, we're writing this story about you, and you just tell them to go ahead and write, because you realize that they don't have information. It's a story that they are trying to sell their newspapers. It happens a lot. But again, especially with people whom we call celebrities, it also challenges us to live a life that will be exemplary to the community. Because most of these stories that you see on tabloid is because of the behavior of us who call ourselves celebrities, or people that are supposed to be celebrated by the community.
Absolutely. I was just about to say, Mr. Shikwambane, that it may just be an issue of wanting to sell papers. You want to sell your story, you want to be making those rounds, you want headlines to be made, and that maybe I don't know, because I don't work in the field personally, but that could be the root of all of it. Can we please have our last round of interactions, please?
Hello, my name is Nileti Talo, and today I'd like.
Hi, my name is Kaisukan Mashep. I'm 13 years old, and my question is, where would one find a job opportunity in the field of media besides television and the radio?
Brilliant question. It's a good question. I've already touched on the different media categories that we have. For example, now I said a lot about internet radio. That's a very good space, you know, internet radio, and you can see that internet radio is actually taking over the market, even though there are some issues about data, because data is expensive and all that, and people are struggling to consume, you know, radio through the internet because of data. But I think the question is directly to say, where else can I work besides radio and television? So my answer will actually go back to my advice to say, when you go to the university, take the broad one instead of just saying this is journalism. That's why you hardly find in the olden days when we're growing up, there were institutions that were specifically offering courses on radio or courses on television, but they don't do that anymore because they realize that it will actually limit you. But if you take it broadly, media and communication or media and marketing, you can find a lot of opportunities out there. Yeah.
I want to ask, I think for me this is my last question. Even if we step out of the context of media studies in general, what advice, especially to the viewers that we have at home, words of motivation, especially in our times, what can you say to the people that are watching and to us in the studio to motivate us as young people?
I would like to say, choose your path very well. Try to get as much information as you can. Get the people that are in that particular field. Speak to them like what you are doing right now. Because you know that my passion is in broadcasting or media, and I have a lot of experience in broadcasting and media in general. That's why you're asking me all these questions. So I would like to say my advice would be, please get people who can assist you. Talk to people who, you know, when you are still in high school, sometimes it's even difficult, especially for people that are still in your grade 8, grade 9, or even the grades that are lower than that. It's even difficult to choose your career. That's why now even at schools they will say when you are in grade 10, I think that's when you begin to choose your subjects and all that, because by the time you reach grade 10, at least you have an idea of what you want to do, post matric. So my advice is that talk to people that are relevant, talk to people that are gurus in the field, people that have that experience, and they will help you.
Okay, so maybe just before we close, Mr. Shikwambane, we just like to ask you to maybe share a bit of your heart on this certain field to the viewers. Just share to us what you love most about what you do, what you enjoy, and yeah.
Yeah, what I enjoy about what I do is the fact that when you wake up in the morning, I've been in the field for 25 years now, and 13 years of it has been in management. What gives me smile on daily basis is when you wake up in the morning and you have people consuming your content, when you are able to inform people. I mean, this coronavirus is real. Imagine the world without media. And I'm happy that I am making a contribution in that space. So that gives me enough sleep at night to say I am making a difference in the community. Besides what I do in radio, as a managing director for Capricorn FM. And personally, I also help a lot of young people. I mean, what I'm doing right now is also helping someone who did not have the information that they have today. What I also do, apart from what I do at Capricorn FM, I also assist in my community. Every year in January, we, myself and my wife, we donate school uniforms to underprivileged kids in the community where we come from. But most importantly, is to change the world. Barack Obama said, if you can change a room, you can change a city. If you can change a city, you can change a province. If you can change the province, you can change the whole nation. And if you can change the nation, you can change the world.
That's very true. Would like to thank you so much for our interactions today, our conversations. Thank you so much to the viewers at home. I'm going to hand over to Patti to close for us all of our lasting impressions, our lasting appreciations.
Thank you once again, Mr. Shikwambane, for being with us today. So before we close, let me just go through some of the points that he said, just to recap. So first and foremost, follow your passion. If your passion is in media, follow it. I think especially in this time, it's a very great time for you to pursue this field, because we're heading to a different world, one which relies a lot on technology. So if you're a bit skeptical, you're not too sure, this was your words of affirmation. God has came today and he's spoken to you through one of his own. And when you're thinking of going to do something within the media studies field, as Mr. Shikwambane said, go for things that will broaden your field. Instead of, for example, if you want to be a journalist, go for certain courses like marketing and communications, which will broaden your field and even include things like journalism. And these are courses that are offered at all of the big universities that are in South Africa. Also, gain some technical skills. If maybe you're not able to go to a university, get the degree per se, just get those technical skills, do a little bit of a certificate that's going to help you and give you a bit of an advantage when you go to maybe apply for a job and you go job hunting. And last but not least, the doors are there, they're open for you. So take this opportunity, seize it. There are programs in place that have been put there for you to succeed, such as these internships and the prerequisite to have to employ new people or new interns every year. So take these opportunities and use them. And lastly, before we close, I'd just like to thank our pastor, Pastor Joylene, and our overseer, Pastor Strike, for giving us this opportunity to be able to have a dialogue with Mr. Shikwambane and share some of the knowledge that he has on the field of media studies. We hope that you've all been empowered. We hope that you've all learned something new that you didn't know before. And thank you very much for being with us. See you next week. same place, same time.